Welcome to Bridges Live. I am Dr. Paul. I am going to be hosting Mental Health Mondays all by myself today. So, we are going to get going here pretty quick. A couple of things are just tuning on and popping on. You can always catch me live here on YouTube or all my podcast channels, iHeart and iTunes Radio. So, if you have any questions, please send me into the inbox. And if you listen to this, like it, share it, and do all what you must. But here it is. Mental Health Mondays, we've had our guest, and we had Dr. Only, who was with us for a while. And she has many other things to do, and Dee and all those other people. But we will be getting more people on. But I did not want to stop Mental Health Mondays. Mental Health Mondays is so important to the things we are doing here in this world, right? So, and I've gotten requests and saying, Dr. Paul, I haven't seen you on Mental Health Mondays. And I'm like, well, sorry, there was a couple of holidays in there, and I just took a little bit of mental health break. And that's what we need to do. Most of the times we just need to take a mental health break. So what do I want to talk about Mental Health Mondays? So sometimes instead of talking about what are good things to do, how about what are the things that you are doing? What is some of the things you do for your mental health? Are you taking a break? Are you taking substance? I hope not. But are you looking out for yourself? And, for me, teaching emotional sciences I do is that understanding what you think and what you are inside has a lot to do with you. Okay, so if I want to focus on just the frontal lobe, right? And reason why you've probably heard me talk a lot about the frontal lobe is because it has movement, right? It controls the reasoning skills, it controls the memory and the personality. So if the frontal lobe is doing all these things, right? Memory, reasoning, personality, right? Movement, and we are overreacting. Where do you think all this is coming from? It's not coming from your frontal lobe. That's for sure. Because that's the intelligence part, right? So we can keep things up here in our frontal lobe. If we can keep things functioning at a certain level, right? A certain level of understanding. And that has a lot to do with understanding who you are. How do you understand who you are if you are not mentally happy? There's journaling, right? There's all types of journaling you can do. A lot of times we go through, and I know it's a general reference, what we go through plays a big importance of who we are. And if we think our personalities is something that we've come from, then how does our frontal lobe have anything to do with our personality trait? If it's something of history, right? Because most of the people develop their personality from something they actually gone through. That's probably true. But that's if you are a cognitive conscious person. If you're a cognitive conscious person, then your intelligence works on your personality. But is your intelligence something you were taught? That always seems to be tricky. For a lot of people, we seem to be taught more things than we are. We seem to be taught more things than what we are. We know how to move, maybe because someone directed us to move. But for you to move from point A to point B, you have to develop a sense of walking, balance, and structure. But what about reaction? What about intelligence? What about behavior? Because if frontal lobe is also in the behavior, who's directing that? Is it something that you've been through, which is history, or is it something you're preparing to go through, which is futuristic? But what about the present? Yes, you've caught me there. Understanding that to be present is to be in the now, right? And if you're going to work your frontal lobe, and we're only going to stay here on the frontal lobe, if you're going to work your frontal lobe, you have to be present, and that's the intelligence. Because the intelligence you are talking about, and what I'm talking about, and what I'm referring to, is not the intelligence of something you were taught. It's the intelligence of something you are cultivating. there's a difference. There's a difference between something you're taught and something you cultivate. You can bring in pieces of information. That's different. You can bring in pieces of information, and that is different. And then understanding what those informations are for you, not just mean to you. What they are for you, not just what they mean to you. Right? Because because behavior can sometimes be so repetitive that it becomes something of your personality. But behavior and personality aren't the same. You can have a personality trait and behave very differently. Now, they can start to overlap and start to form a bond that's mingled so hardly and wired that your behavior is your personality, or your personality is your behavior, but they're not the same. And they all function right here in the frontal lobe. Because if you understood your reasoning skills, which is also here in the frontal lobe, then you understand your behavior, your intelligence, and your personality, and then your movement. See, all these are really connected, but see, none of this will stay up here if you're only going back from past experiences. Past experiences that trigger different sensory perceptions, right? Because the temporal lobe has almost your senses in it, right? Has your hearing, your memory, right? There's things that functions different parts of the brain. When he comes into the brain science, understanding what is, what isn't, and how you want to understand where you are in your brain in the moment, that is being present. Understanding that, am I in my old part of the brain where it's just the amygdala, right? Am I in the brain stem part of my brain? Am I in the cerebellum part of my brain? Am I in the occipital lobe part of my brain? Which part of my brain am I really using at this time? And why do I want to use this at this time? Because you have more time to understand what part of the brain you're in if you just slow down. Because if you're only reacting, then there is no reasoning. If you're only reacting, there is no reasoning. And if there's no reasoning, then you're out of your frontal lobe. Right? And if you're only going from memory, then that means you're in your temporal lobe. Right? So now, and then what is the difference of you being in that part of the brain if you're only in the temporal lobe or the frontal lobe? If you're only in the brain stem, right? If you're only in the brain stem, then you're only functioning on your breath is probably out of whack, right? If you're not regulating that, because that's what helps with the brain stem. But you have to remember, there's a lot of work to go on. There's a lot of work for you to do as Mental Health Mondays. It's all mental health. But I really want you to understand what part of the brain you are doing, studying, and living by. Because that has a lot of function. Sometimes we're in so much dysfunction that we don't know where we are at. And you've heard some of the tips here on Mental Health Mondays. Take your time. Be present. Give yourself a chance to live. Give yourself a chance. Because if you give yourself a chance, then we all do better. And if we all do better, then we're just better. And we're always moving forward to be better. We're never without working forward. I didn't want to miss another Monday without giving you this piece. Mental Health Mondays are important. Every day is important. Mental Health Mondays just hopefully gives you a reminder that you're not alone. There are professionals out here that we're out here to help you get through and make it through, and to understand what it is about you that is. Because you are very, very important to all of us. To all of us. And I'm speaking to you. Because sometimes we just forget. And forgetting is not an option. Because we're all working. We're all trying. We're all trying to make a difference. And the only way we can make a difference is to be different. A little short clip. Mental Health Mondays. I will catch you all again later. See you next Monday. Also, we have a new show coming up called Voices to be Heard. It's about abuse and conditioning, and talking about how to get over those things too, and how to build a stronger person to get over the domestic violence that we're all having. I will be having a co-host, and you will be able to call in to the show. I'll be giving you a 1-800 number, so look forward to that. And remember, it's Voices to be Heard. It's going to be coming on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Going to be live. You can call in. You call in with your stories. You can call in with some help. But we'll be listening and we'll be talking. I wish you all a great day.